Those two teams playing one another on Saturday there. Look, Georgia lost a bunch of players to the draft. Their defense is still elite. They have this excellent trio of tight ends there. And I mean, they're just fantastic across the board. Stetson Bennett back. Bulldogs favored by 17. The total here is 53.
This is a really big number, and I think it has a lot to do with the respect that Kirby Smart and his team's getting for being the defending national champions. But you kind of touched on it. I mean, they lost a lot of guys in the first round of the draft. And I know they bring back plenty of talent and ability, whether it's Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, whoever you want to talk about, Ringo at the cornerback position. And Georgia's actually rotated their defensive players to allow for some of those young players to get experience, to then be able to come in and be ready for their moment, like right now. But let's not forget, Dan Lanning, the former defensive coordinator, he knows that scheme as well as anyone. He knows the personnel as well as anyone. And he's going to have an Oregon roster ready to roll. And this roster has been built well by Mario Cristobal, who built them up in the trenches to be able to compete with the likes of some of the top talent, like I just mentioned a moment ago, versus Ohio State. So they'll be a physical team. They'll be able to run the football. Bo Nix at quarterback for Oregon has been in these big situations before and has performed well. So 17 is just too much for me. I'm not saying that Georgia doesn't win this football game, Danny. I'm just going to go ahead and take the points. I think it stays within that number.
Another one, these big numbers scare me, but I'm going to go ahead and take the favorite. And taking all these favorites back to back, I'm like, man, maybe I should have vacillated like you did and gone back and forth on them. But this is in Georgia's backyard, man. This is a home game for him. Dan Lanning's going to come back, and he's going to go right back to where he was. And while he was a great defensive coordinator, he doesn't have those 5 first-round defensive players on his side of the ball. And he does inherit a pretty good roster. Mario Cristobal was a pretty good recruiter. I think Bo Nix will be able to make some plays, which is why my favorite play in this game is the over. It's a 53-point total. I think that's pretty low. Bo Nix, we've seen this story before, though. He can make plays like he did against LSU when he's running around for 10 minutes, make some circus play while he's falling down and hits for a big gainer. I think he'll put up some points on this Georgia defense while they're getting acclimated and breaking in some of these younger players. But I also think you'll see Stetson Bennett open it up a little bit for Georgia's offense, and they'll try to showcase some firepower because, if anything, this Georgia team, last year they relied so much on their defense. I think they might rely more on their offense early this year with Brock Bowers. Eric Gilbert, the tight end, is one of the better tight ends that they're expecting big things from. So I'm going to say it goes over the 53 total.
I'm with you on the over. I do think this will be a more high-scoring affair compared to where the over-under is set right now. I'm curious to see how Stetson Bennett plays this season. I mean, really, if you go back through the course of last season, they had to rely on that rushing attack. At times, they were almost getting through games, as you mentioned, relying on the defense. And despite of him, national championship game was a completely different story. So is that the version of Stetson Bennett we see this season? Or are we going to start to hear some whispers and rumors that maybe he's the thing holding them back? I kind of get the sense that maybe it's going to be more of that body of work that we saw last year, and maybe that's the position that may hurt them this year with Stetson Bennett, more so than him replicating what we saw in the national championship game.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.